Well, first of all, the people who aren't surrounded by that, the behavior of little children night and day, are not used to it, and it is distressing to them. And parents of little children should understand that not everybody is, that shall we say, insensitive or immune to that behavior. And it does trouble them, and it does distract them, and it does perhaps even enervate them. So the parents have to be aware of that and have to allow for that. At the same time, the people who don't grow up with little children have to realize, well, these parents have been raising these little children, and yes, they might be tone deaf a bit to the noise and all the movement of their kids. But, ultimately, that's what you have ushers for. I mean, the priests in all the traditional chapels, they really need ushers they can count on, who have a very good sense of what is needed and when it is needed and how it is needed, to intervene in a case like that. And if people are finding a youngster to be a distraction for their prayer at Mass, it's really not fair for them either. I know it's a hardship for the parents. But they're parents, and that's what comes with the turf, Sometimes you just have to take the little one out and, admonish him to behave himself. Now, obviously, you get an 18-month-old, it's not so easy to do. But by the time they get to be 3 and 4 years old, obviously, by the time they're even 2, you should at least start teaching them, start training them. Unfortunately, sometimes you get families with little kids back in the so-called crying room or the nursery, and they think it's okay to let the kids run wild back there. And so it's the playroom. And that's not the point of the nursery. The point of the nursery and the crying room is to take your children back there so they won't be a distraction while they're learning how to attend Mass and behave themselves. So while the parents are back there with the little children, the point is not turn the children loose and let them turn into a playground. The point is to teach the children there how to behave themselves so that when they go into the church, the children will have learned a little bit, learned better how to be good at Mass, right? So, the parents themselves have to learn. They have to learn how to teach their children the right thing. It is important that there be that consistent training. And young parents of young children are just learning themselves how to deal with that. Hopefully, they'll find some older parishioners whom they trust and who are very gentle, who can lend a hand and help them deal with that too. It's hard, though, when you have a young family, but you might already have, 2 or 3 or 4 children under the age of 6 or 7, and you have to corral them all and train them all. So we have to be very compassionate and understanding of that. Tell them, look, it used to bother me when children were babbling, crying, shrieking during Mass. But some time ago, it stopped bothering me. No, shrieking, that still does bother me, because that should not be allowed. The child should be taken out. But otherwise, if it's just a child crying or a child babbling, it really doesn't faze me that much. Because it struck me at one point, well, as a priest, I know what it is to hear complaints. People bring problems, things that are not right, things that are irritating them, bothering them, about me, about their spouses, about their kids, about teachers, about anybody. The priest often seems to be the target of these things. Maybe people think the priest can do something about it. Maybe he can, but maybe he can't, in any case. But, as parents, you listen to complaints all the time. That's what a parent's job. As priests, we do the same. We listen to complaints and hardships and struggles and sufferings and so on. And then I have a little child who's babbling or burbling at Mass or crying, and I think, compared to all of the griping and whining and complaining that I not only hear every day, but that I myself do, this child's crying probably is like music to the ears. Well, the angels had ears. Music to the saints in heaven, and the angels here in their own angelic way. And it probably, the cry of a child probably sounds like music to them compared to the noises we adults make every day endlessly about complaining finding fault and griping about this and whining about that. And ever since I thought of that, not only as it applies to others talking to me, but even myself, in all honesty, the crying of the child just hasn't bothered me anymore. And so, I think, well, gee, I mean, if an angel in heaven had a choice of listening to me or listening to that child, hands down, the child would win. So anyway, for what it's worth, okay, I think we all need a lot of patience toward little children because they're the coming generation of traditional Catholics. At the same time, though, we all want to see them grow up. And they're not going to grow up unless we teach them how.